and welcome to Information Please, your Peoria Public Library on the air, bringing information about your library and your community. And this evening my guest is Stacy Peterson from Peoria Public Library, and she works with our gallery exhibits, and so we're going to give you a preview of what's coming for the rest of the year. Hi, Stacy.
Hi, Tricia.
We've got so many things lined up, and I think it's good to let people know what's coming so they know they can make time, or if there's things they want to read about before they come. But it's July and great exhibit now.
Great exhibit now. In fact, kind of following the heels from our last exhibit, which was also a photography exhibit. It was, there are some similarities. Our last exhibit was called Everyday People Project. And this was a photographer, a photojournalist who photographed a different person every day for 365 days. So we have a year of portraits. And it was very well received. And totally unintentionally, we booked another photojournalist and a very similarly themed project. This one is called Every Other. And this is the photography and words of Matt Budell, who is a photojournalist, and Scott Kavanaugh, who is a photography professor and exhibiting artist. It's a very interesting project that started off kind of as almost like a gauntlet being thrown between the two of them. You've got a word guy and you've got a photo guy. And they said, what if we gave each other a word, and each week we're going to alternate what the word is, and you have to photograph it, and it has to be up by Wednesday night by midnight in order for this to work. And what kind of started as a little project between the two of them, the more that their friends started getting involved in it, the more excited they got about it. So instead of having 365 portraits, they did a word every day for a week. So we have 52 portraits for this.
50, for this one word a week.
One word a week for one whole year, with the last word being displayed during this exhibit. So it's going to be even more interesting, and it's been neat to see their interpretations of words. And some of the words are very unusual. Some of the words are a little bit more common, and they've had some challenges trying to
trip each other up.
Exactly.
Well, they're both obviously very talented, and we've got here one of the images, because I want people to understand this isn't like word art or something. This is photography that expresses whatever word they were given. And extremely talented photographers and beautiful images I think we're going to see.
It's very interesting, because we have the sensibility of Scott, who is this trained artist, used to exhibiting in galleries, in different art fairs, and he definitely has the artist perspective as well as the educator perspective. Matt is more of a word person, more of a wordsmith, yet has to use photography skills for his job of documenting things, but it's a very different skill set when you're doing photojournalism versus artistic interpretation.
Fine art, art photography.
And yet somehow between the two of them, it really does come together in a very interesting way. And I found it very interesting because we have this well, you have a lot of people who approach us and say, I can't believe you have an art gallery at the library. And I feel like we're constantly challenging that and surprising people. And now we are taking in words, which of course the library is full of words, and marrying them in with images. And it's just the perfect explosion of excitement in this exhibit. It really
are these artists local?
These artists are local, actually. Matt works for the Peoria Journal-Star. You'll see his byline. He's been with them for several years. Scott is from Iowa originally, but has lived in the area for many, many years, and actually teaches at Bradley, and has had solo shows around the area. So you will see them around town, and Scott has had some very interesting projects documenting local areas, taking his students out into rural areas and showing that work at different galleries in the area.
Oh, wonderful.
So,
and that's one of the things we like to tell people about our gallery, is the reason the library has a gallery is because this might be one of the places where somebody who's not a professional, who is a hobbyist, or maybe they're just getting started, this is a low pressure place to exhibit, and there's no fees involved. It's simply you just can convince us that you've got enough to put on a show, and it's not obscene and whatever, and you can do it. And we've had everything from high school artists to, we also get traveling displays. Sometimes we have things on history or science. It's not always art. It's ever changing. And here's another
Yeah,
one
another
of the pieces
interpretation.
from the display that's coming. But you're just as likely to come in and see painting. You know, we had the Rennick show. We've had fiber artists with the quilters.
Yeah, we've had functional. We've had the traveling Smithsonian shows. We have an upcoming Lincoln exhibit in 2014 that is going to be so relevant to people who are interested in history. We really are showcasing that gallery as a community space. And I
Exactly.
encourage people, I mean, a lot of times I will extend an invitation when I see something interesting. This show, for example, was never intended to be exhibited. It was an online project, much like the Everyday People project. But I found it so interesting. And when I approached the artists, I said, you know, I'd love to be able to exhibit this if you're willing to go through the time, if you'd like to use the space. And I've encouraged people, if you are interested in using that venue, please send a CD of images to the Peoria Public Library, to the programming department, to my attention. If you have an artist statement, that'd be great. If you don't, that's fine. If you have a website, any kind of information, and we'll put it in the hopper and we'll take a look at it. We are
Yeah.
always interested in new ideas.
And we try very hard to get, you know, everybody, particularly community people, exhibited. We've done the Chow artists.
Yeah.
And that's going to be great. To be able to, that was the first time they all exhibited together.
That's
The
right.
Central Illinois Artists Organizations have always just exhibited in their own space, and you went for the Friday night walks, which are a big deal and a lot of fun. But that's the first time they displayed their work together. So we're all about innovation and doing something new. But the great thing is, it doesn't cost you anything.
No.
It doesn't cost a cent. You can just be at the library to pick up children's books, and you can pop downstairs, add a little art to your day. Anytime that main library is open, it's on lower level 1.
It is.
Which is the floor that when you take people to, they go, what'd you do with the auditorium?
Yeah, they're always a little bit put off, a little bit surprised.
Yeah, Peorians, people who've lived around a long time and
Yeah.
remember the library before renovations go, what'd you do with the auditorium? And then you tell them, oh, it's a floor below. Because nobody ever knew we had this other hidden floor
Right.
that was full of books that are gone. They're gone because they were falling apart, moldering, couldn't even pick them up, but they were just in the stacks. They were some of them just from who knows when, so long ago, but they weren't circulating. Nobody wanted to look at them.
Yeah.
So
And now we have
an
this-
art gallery
An art gallery and 2 wonderful meeting spaces
in the local
on that
history
same
and
area.
genealogy department.
And honestly, all of our meeting rooms are really lovely and they have wonderful accommodations. But those 2 meeting rooms that are available on lower level 1 are especially nice because those people get the benefit of coming out, peeking into local history, enjoying the artwork that's on display. And we can't really guarantee that with the other meeting rooms. They have nice views,
Yeah.
but they certainly don't have art gallery views.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And
that is-
how nice when you take that 15-minute break in the
Right.
middle of your meeting to be able to go out into the art gallery.
And also, we are also happy to say that we host receptions when it's available. We have yet to not have a reception unless the hosting or unless the visiting organization didn't want it or didn't fit into their schedule. But
Right.
we usually have some kind of artist reception for every event. And also, we have a gallery walk. Usually, it's the second Tuesday. We do it at 2 o'clock. People meet down at Local History. They walk through the exhibit. It's either led by myself or the artist if they're available. And then we take them down to the Friendly Finds book room, which also happens to be open on that same day until 4 o'clock. And they kind of get a chance to see the bottom levels of the floor as well as get a little more personal experience with the artwork. But if they can't make it, again, it's open and visible anytime, 9 to 6.
Well, and we
Monday
should
through
point out
Saturday.
if you have a group that wants to go through your book club, your neighborhood ladies, your high school reunion planning committee, whoever is looking for something to do, all you have to do is call and we will arrange a tour for you.
We will.
And we're very flexible and it doesn't cost you anything.
No, we love showing that space off. We
Yes.
truly love showing that space off.
And the treasures within it.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Well, that wraps up
July.
the month of July, and then we move into August, and I know we have something wonderful coming in August as well.
We do. We have Tom Gross. Tom Gross is an East Peorian. He is absolutely no stranger to the local art scene, even though he has a day job, but this is what he does in his part-time, and it's taken on a life of its own. Tom generally works in oils and acrylics. He is known specifically for a series called Cityscapes. He's done a lot of Peoria skylines. He's done a lot of very notable Peoria area things. So he usually works in large format. He's exhibited at the Fine Art Fair on the riverfront. He's served on the board for the Peoria Art Guild, for the Illinois Art League. He's actually involved in the Art on the Promenade in East Peoria. He has exhibited as far away as Springfield and Iowa City and even Minneapolis.
And he's exhibited in our gallery as parts of other shows.
Right, and he has been a participating local artist. He is not a Chow affiliated artist because his studio is in his home, so he doesn't have a studio to tour.
For people to walk through.
But he is incredibly successful and very recognizable. Not only does he work in oils and acrylics, he builds a lot of his frames. So he did a baseball series, for example, and he would take very recognizable, like the sign at Wrigley Field.
Yeah.
He built the wooden frame, he metered it, he sanded it down, stretched the canvas, and then recreated the sign. So he's known for doing very recognizable things. Well, we're very excited because he's going to be unveiling a new series at the library in August. And again, working in oils and acrylics. And I don't think that I'm giving away any secrets because he exhibited some of these things at the Sunbeam building on Sheridan Road during one of the first Fridays. But Tom has gone into archives and he's taken out recognizable movie theaters specifically from Peoria.
Wow.
And he's going to put up the actual photographic image of the theater and then his rendering of the image in oils and acrylics. And this is going to be so exciting for anybody interested in Peoria, anybody who has a little bit of nostalgia, anybody who has some stake in the Central Illinois Landmark Foundation or the Historical Society. It's just a wonderful exhibit for somebody who remembers these things, or maybe you want to bring a family member who grew up in Peoria during that time. I mean, it's going to be...
How far back is he going to go?
At least to the 50s. I mean, there was a time, and this is before my time...
Not before mine, though.
Perhaps before. Well, there was a time when Peoria apparently was just rife with movie theaters.
It was. But each of them were only showing one movie.
Right, one screen.
One screen and huge audience. And and they were full because you could afford them.
Right, right.
But I mean, I can remember just, 7, 8, 9 theaters. And when you think about that now, going to a theater that has 14 screens or some silly thing, and then the times weren't spread out, but there was lots of them. I just didn't know if maybe he was going all the way back into the old vaudeville theaters.
Well, as far as I know, he's doing just film theaters at this point. But
which some of them were vaudeville theaters
right,
that got converted.
Like the Apollo or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Madison.
The Madison, of course. It's, for me, for somebody who's a transplant, it's really interesting to see those areas and then think, oh my gosh, that's Campus Town. I can't remember the name of the theater that used to be at Campus Town, but that was the first one that I saw.
Oh.
And to try to reimagine those things, it's a touching exhibit. And Tom is really quite the character and loves to talk about his work, so we're excited to have him and his enthusiasm.
His are so much fun because you can just stand way back. They're so large, and you just feel like you're a part of the painting almost, because they are almost life size. I was just so struck by that. I think the one I remember is something with a stairway in it, and the aluminum railing, and I just was like, I could just take a step and walk into that painting because it's the right size.
And for the Chow Show, when we had I guess it was the opening exhibit when the library reopened after the renovation, he had a beautiful large-scale piece of Fulton Plaza with City Hall, with the Civic Center, with the reflection, with the clock, with the sculpture, and it was just magnificent in the space. People loved it. They're very receptive to Tom's work, and it's not just his genial attitude. It really is a piece of history that he's managed to recreate, so much so that several banks have his pieces. The Heartland Partnership at one time had their conference room just filled with Peoria skyline pieces that he had done. So wonderful. We encourage people to come down in the month of August.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
That's going to be fun.
Different way of life, and people who are used to the multiplex, the box, are going to be stunned when they see how we used to get to see movies.
Or watching films on Netflix, or checking DVDs out from the
your
library.
iPad.
Right. It will be a very interesting learning experience, and then to see people come through and explain that to kids. I mean, my father always tells me that when he was a kid, he sat through the film version of Geronimo 4 times and bought these huge peppermint sticks for a nickel, and I just can't wrap my mind around that. So I imagine other people having similar experiences.
Well, I remember the ushers in the white gloves, and I remember the giant jar of sour dill pickles
At a movie theater.
in a movie theater. You would pay 5 cents and get a pickle.
Wow.
And that was,
Yeah.
you could do that. And it was, the guys in the gloves and the uniforms, that was something else. They seemed to all be maroon. So I remember it was maroon uniforms with gold braid.
Very fancy and formal.
It was. But you didn't mess with them. Gave them a lot of authority. It was very different than the teenager in the polo shirt.
With
and
the
jeans.
sweeper.
Yeah, with the sweeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very different. Very different. You didn't mess around with those guys.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, so then as August closes,
As
we
August
go into
closes.
September and completely different
Completely
ballgame.
different. And we're so excited about this September show. This September show is the first of 4 of its kind. We are going to be repeating
For 4 years.
For 4 years, we are going to be doing this. There's a gentleman in town, the current president of the Peoria Historic Society, used to be a vice president of communications for Caterpillar. He's retired. He has made it his hobby to collect Caterpillar advertising pieces and has an extensive collection of advertisements. And he's a cataloger, I think, at heart, because they are all in numeric order. And he's done extensive research. And we were talking one day and he said, I'd really like to display these. And my ears perked up and I thought, that would be so neat. Peoria is not just a town with Caterpillar, but as you well know, it's a town full of artists and graphic designers. So we have some wonderful and significant advertising agencies right here in Peoria. So this is a display that is going to be interesting for a lot of different people. So we plan on installing that in the month of September for the next 4 years, completely different every 4 years. So we're going to start from the beginning, and at the end of 4 years, I told Mark he can't go out and collect any more pieces because we have it all planned out. But if he wants to, that's fine. So that is going to be very relevant for anybody who's worked at Caterpillar, anybody who's lived in Peoria. But to highlight this even further, we have some wonderful glass display cases at the library.
We do.
And I said, Mark, those ads are going to look great on the wall. We'd really like to put something in the cases. Well, no problem. I'm going to bring in some die-cast models. So we're also going to have just a massive amount of die-cast models of Caterpillar equipment and farm implements. So I'm envisioning that this would be a wonderful tour for school children, for families to come and look at this, for people either from the city or from the farm who want to come and take a look at these wonderful toys. And anybody who's a toy aficionado will enjoy some of these pieces.
That, right.
So we want people to be on the lookout for that, indeed.
Well, you made a great point about that we're a community full of talented graphic designers and graphic artists too, because I remember somebody once saying, when hundreds of years from now, when people look back, our finest artists worked in advertising, and while the fine art is great, it just we don't support it. We used to be in the churches because the churches supported it, or the fine nobles, all the paintings and tapestries. But they say now advertising is supported, and there is some interesting stuff out there. And I think students in marketing now would be interested to see also how things have changed and the kind of work that went into things and how it's changed from the days of the hand-drawn to the computer art. What's going on.
Without a doubt. I mean, when you look at the evolution of the print ad and you see that in the beginning of those Caterpillar ads, and then in addition to that, they also reflect history. So from the beginning, you kind of see the evolution of what happens to Caterpillar when the war comes in and how is war portrayed. And freehand, these drawings, many of which were done freehand, it's just really overwhelming to see that and to step back and realize the evolution of that art. You're so right. I mean, they truly are artists in their own right.
Yeah, to be able to see what they did is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're done with September, moving into October.
Oh my gosh, October is exciting for so many reasons for us. October is actually Arts and Humanities Month. So many museums and art galleries and public buildings use October as a month to signify humanities and arts projects. Well, we are getting involved. There's a local woman. Her name is Channy Lyons. Her project has been the Illinois Women's Artists Project. She although she's retired from marketing, she has made this project her life work. She's built an extensive database, And she's going to actually have a symposium in November. But starting in October, there are going to be between 17 and 20 participating galleries and museums in Peoria alone who are going to signify local women and local women artists on some level. So we have the Chow artists who are going to be displaying in their pieces. The museum on the riverfront is going to also have a piece. We're going to partner with the Peoria Historical Society, and we're going to use functional art. So think of things, and this is kind of following on the footsteps of our really successful quilt and stoneware exhibit.
Yes.
We're going to take things like cross stitch and samplers and things that perhaps were used as practice or maybe not considered art at one time, but were generally done by women. And we're going to actually bring those into the forefront and put them on display. In addition to that, we do have some lovely pieces by local women artists that have recently been donated to the Historical Society. Due to all of the construction that's gone on Washington Street, they don't have the venue to display them, so we're going to incorporate those into our exhibit.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's going to be exciting, and people can visit any of the participating. We're going to have information on the other participating gallery spaces so they can really experience the whole of these women, Illinois women artists. And then if they choose, there are different programs they can participate in at Bradley for the symposium at the beginning of November. Also, to highlight this, we're going to have 5 to 6 women authors. They're going to do a reading at the North Branch. I believe it's October 21st. Everybody from journalist to a children's writer to a fiction writer, and it's also going to highlight this. So they'll want to visit the PeoriaPublicLibrary.org calendar for a full schedule of events. But again, it's going to be one of those significant exhibits where we're going to challenge the way people think of art once again by putting functional and...
If people haven't thought about it before, so often women didn't have any way or the time to create fine art, but put their artistry and their creativity into the day-to-day things they were surrounded with and the stuff that they used every day.
How many of us, grew up with tea towels, Monday, Sunday through Saturday tea towels, and we used them all the time, and now you look at them and you think, well, this is significant to this part. We don't sit down and do that anymore.
No, or painted china.
The painted china, ladies.
Or even fancy aprons.
Right.
Quilts.
Table runners, pillowcases, things that we took for granted. Now, another thing that's going to be very interesting that's going to also highlight this, the Peoria Women's Club, which is an organization that's been around for a very long time, they just celebrated their 100th.
They helped start the library,
They did, and they also helped bring a lot of art, nationally renowned artists in the performing arts and in visual arts to Peoria. They celebrated their 125th birthday in January, and to celebrate this, there's a documentary movie. We will be showing this documentary movie at our library locations in the month of October as well. So people will want to check the calendar of events for that. And some of the women who are current presidents and participants in this organization will be on hand. So we're very excited. They are a wonderful group of women.
Oh, they are.
A lot of history.
This is really an odd fact, but I still have my doll dishes from when I was a little girl, and I actually have a beautiful rice paper napkin that came from a women's club luncheon.
Oh my gosh.
That my grandma brought me. This would have been in the early 60s. Brought me because it was so pretty, and I still have it after all these years.
Oh my gosh, you should bring that for the display.
It's to show them. Yeah, they had the beautiful luncheons, but that was every once in a while she'd bring me something, but somehow that survived. I think it's just so fragile and pretty, and it looks like it's new, not faded or crumpled.
Isn't that amazing? And monthly, they still have their monthly luncheons in their building, in the Peoria Women's Club building.
Yes.
And they have it with the fanfare and the tea service, and once a year they do a bonnet. You have to wear a bonnet and come for the singing in their programs. It is like stepping back in time, truly, when you go visit these women and you get to participate in any of their monthly events. They're a wonderful group.
Yeah, and have done so much for Peoria for many, many years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So from October to, I believe it's the second week of November, we're going to have the functional artwork and the cross stitch on display with the Historical Society.
And then November.
Following on last year's success, we had so much fun with this. Last year for November, in celebration of Veterans Day, we did an art show called Those Who Served.
Yes.
And this was actually showcasing the artwork of veterans. Now, the artwork did not have to be military in theme. all you had to do was be a veteran, and you didn't have to be a professional. You could be a hobbyist, and it could be in any medium. We partnered with the gentleman from the Order of the Purple Heart and the Veterans Pub and many local veterans, and we had an absolutely wonderful response. The first show that we know of its kind exhibiting the artwork of veterans. So one of the discussions that we had last year, because we had so much traffic because of this show, so many veterans wanted to see it or bring their families, I proposed to Nancy Davis, who heralded this event and got it all organized. I said it would be lovely if we could do this through the end of the year, because so many servicemen and women come home for the holidays and didn't get a chance to see the show.
Yeah.
So starting right after Veterans Day all the way until the end of the year, we are going to have Home for the Holidays, and it's a veterans art exhibit. So we encourage anybody who knows a veteran, who is a veteran, to participate in this show. We would love to have your work on display and celebrate what you've done. Also pay tribute to you and your service for the country. It's a really wonderful exhibit.
It was, and they had quite a fanfare opening with it last year too. It was great. So I hope everybody will come. That's a fabulous list of things to see. But we have one other really big event coming in September for our friends of the library, and this is probably the first time we've shown an image of it.
Yep.
But on Saturday, September 28th, we have The World of Downton Abbey with author Jessica Fellows, who will be joining us from England.
Yes.
And this event is, you have to be a member of the Friends of the Library, but the interesting thing is your ticket makes you a member of the Friends.
That's right.
So you buy the ticket, and tickets go on sale July 1st, and they're going to be a hot commodity because, of course, there's a limited number. But the great thing is, for a $20 ticket, you get a downstairs seat.
Yes.
Which, but $20, you then are a member of the Friends for the year 2014, and you get to meet the author and all that. But if you buy an upstairs seat, you get a book with it, an autographed book, and you get her book, The World of Downton Abbey. And you can actually get a $75 upstairs ticket. You get the same preferential seating, a book, and 2 Friends memberships. But that would be if, married couple and they only need 1 book. So that's why we offer those. And so it is going to be an absolutely lovely day.
Oh my gosh.
Doors are going to open at 3:30, and we encourage everybody to call and come to this and be a member of the Friends. Thank you so much, Stacy. It's going to be a great year at the gallery.
It is. We're excited. Thank you.